All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Mastermind. Every Friday, 9 o'clock, we are masterminding. We're bringing in amazing special guests. Before I frame today's call and I bring our special guest today on stage, what's up, Todd Bookspan?
It is Friday. I have no place well, other than on vacation that I'd rather be than hanging out with all of you. And it's Deborah and I were talking about before everyone jumped on. I mean, it is the last day of the month, and we're getting towards we're over halfway through the quarter, so it's a lot of fun for me. I love seeing what you're all doing out there in this world, mortgage. And I'm even more impressed today with Coach Deb representing the CU colors. Come on, show off that necklace.
Let's
I love it.
go. This is a thank you to Mr. Thank You. So John Israel, who sent me this. But how could you not love Deion Sanders? Like, I was fired up that they won last night, and I hope you guys are fired up for this call because it's going to be a great call. And it is the last business day of the month. So make sure you review, reflect, and then kick ass for next month.
Yeah, and that's a really good reminder because we're going into a 3-day weekend. And we really are running into the final leg of this year, because once we get a few more weeks in and we get into next month, we're going into holidays, we're going into planning for next year. So hopefully everybody has a great 3-day weekend, and hopefully you really close the year strong. And I do
Can I throw
believe.
out a quick challenge, Dave? Can I throw out a quick challenge?
Bring it.
I'm unplugging for a day and a half with my wife. We're going to be looking at like nailing the rest of this year, right? So we're going to do we're doing a staycation. We're going to be laser focused. We got those big post-it notes we'll stick up, and we're going to be looking at business. We're going to be looking at life and really running in there. And so I don't think all you need to do is staycation and spend a day and a half doing it, but I would just encourage you, can you just carve out maybe a little more time than you normally would? You have a 3-day weekend, and maybe there's just a 2-hour period, a 3-hour period where you can just pick some part of your business or your life, and you can sit down and really just think through, like, what is my vision for for that part of my life? What do I want that to look like? What do I want to look like? We're looking between now and the end of the year. We're looking 2025, right? Again, a little softer for 2025, hardcore for the rest of the year. And then we always look out then, like, all right, what does it look out 3 years out? What does it look 5 years out? What does it look 10 years out and beyond? But ultimately, if you're not crystal clear on how you're going to close out the rest of this year, both personally and professionally, especially if you have important people around you, I think it's going to be hard, right? I was talking to a good friend of mine. He said it's been a grind. And I said for 2 years, and he corrected me. He said he's been grinding for 2.5 years. He says he's pushing the string. And so I think it's a good opportunity when you have a 3-day weekend just to do that time to reflect. And so that's my challenge, y'all. See if you can unplug for a little bit this weekend.
I
Well, and
love that
Q4
challenge.
is a great quarter to reconnect because of all the holidays. So hopefully you're being intentional. And I'm sure Nicole may or may not talk about this, but use it as leverage and opportunities to get back in front of your agent partners or your community just by being active and visible in the community that you serve. So
Love that. So here is my frame. I love that challenge. So guys, first takeaway of the day, write down that challenge. I'm actually gonna rethink my 3-day weekend and see if I'm not gonna match you with a day and a half, but I bet I could add a couple hours of intentionality to my weekend. But here's an observation I've had. I talked to a lot of senior executives. I was on site with Mr. Cooper on Wednesday, meeting with their head of sales, their head of product, their head of retention. I talked to multiple CEOs and heads of production this week of top 10 lenders, and every single one of them is going from offense to defense, and they've made very specific bets on going from offense to defense. I can't say exactly what Mr. Cooper's done because I'm under an NDA, but I think it's safe to say, like, they're going from defense to offense. And I can tell you right now, the servicers and the top 10 lenders in the country have never had better tech. They've never had better processes. They've never been better with their data. And here's the other thing I could tell you, that every person watching this channel that is a mortgage coach, that actually uses your CRM, that is being a modern mortgage professional, you can compete. Like, you can compete and win. So it's time to get your game on. So with that said, I have, followed Nicole Ruth. I've had her on, this channel multiple times. She's truly not only one of America's most successful loan officers, She's actually the #1 loan officer in the state of Colorado. And in Colorado, like I have loan officers in every state. I always like, and I'm not going to say the other states, but I will tell you, Colorado has some of the best loan officers in America. They really do, like not going to start naming off all the other states and who's got the best, but Colorado has some of the best mortgage advisors in America. She's #1. And then the thing that's most special to me about who we're going to bring on now is she's really valuable to the consumers she served. She's very serious about financial literacy, bringing in the next generation to homeownership, helping people like get into homeownership younger and faster because of her educational platform. Nicole Ruth, what's up?
Well, good morning. I'm glad to be here. Very exciting.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe you said yes on the last day of the month, but thank you for doing that. We will not go long. I will make sure we get you off on time. So first of all, tell everybody just so we kind of have a level set as to what kind of production are you doing? And then let's also kind of tell your story over the past year and where you're at and what you've been through, because I think a lot of people can relate.
Yeah. And because I know we were talking about what are we going to talk about, because I know we've had so many conversations over the years, both formal and informal. And I just always love being pulled into your sphere. So thank you, Dave, for the invitation today. And we went kind of around and round and, what's the most prevalent or important conversation to be having today, and being relevant and being valuable to your realtor database is absolutely a massive win given our current environment, especially given all of the change that they're going through. But I also, in talking with you before we started this, was really, I've been diving deeper into my relationships because I'm in a different place than I was 3 years ago. And I really want to reach out because, I would say that it's probably a majority of loan officers watching this that take, as Todd mentioned, taking that time and being intentional to reflect on where you've been and what you want to accomplish for the end of this year. I would also grant yourself the grace to respect where you've been these last 2.5 years. Pushing the string is a phenomenal visual for that. I would say it's been a languish at the bottom for me, in the sense of, having gone from 400 million in 2021 to seeing our volume going up to just, thankfully over 100 million, but it's a far cry from what it was. And your personal value gets tied to the volume we do as producers. And we start to define ourselves as that. And we want to create this rhythm and the success of the next level of volume and the next level of volume. And I'm in this office, I've got this many real estate agents, I've got this many, units closing. I would actually lean into you to say, lean into your vulnerable side of what you just went through. Unless you didn't go through it, then God bless all about you right now, because I went through it in a massively big way and I hit the bottom. And then of course I had back surgery in the middle of all of that and I couldn't walk, and I'm an athlete, and that was a really big deal that absolutely stole all of my energy and my confidence. But the last 2.5 years have been rough. And Dave and I, when we were talking, it was the shadow of putting one foot in front of the other, assuming that at some point it would start to come back together again. And since March, that's been coming back together again. And in the last 60 days, it's absolutely been firing on all cylinders. But it's because I'm different today, and the solutions are different today than they were 2 years ago. My conversations are different today than they were 2 years ago. And the empathy that I have with the real estate agents that are in my sphere and the clients that I serve, and the struggle of high home prices and high interest rates and this unaffordability and this inability to see a destination. When you walk into those conversations with your true authentic self that says, I know what it meant to be beat, and I'm coming alongside you to make sure that we walk out of this together, it's a totally different conversation. Own who you are, where you've been, and be more of you in a time such as this. It's super important that you start out with that recognition, given where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I know you're always intentional. Every time I've interviewed you, you've had a different quote in your background. And I love AI can't do the shit I do, Nicole Ruth. So we got some attitude going. And so what is your take? Like, my thought is AI isn't gonna beat loan officers, and technology is not gonna eliminate loan officers, but loan officers that use technology are gonna take market share from loan officers that don't. Any thoughts you have on that?
Yeah, because I actually think AI is going to take loan officers. I think the opposite. But here's what I think and what I know. If you do loans, that's it. If you do loans, stop doing loans because you need to go do something else. If that's what your claim to fame is that I can do loans well, I can do loans fast, and I can get you the closing table on time. Okay, so can Rocket Mortgage and UWM and now even AI. In fact, Housing Wire just put out an article yesterday about AI taking over real estate agents. Literally, the buyer's agent is now going to be an AI platform. And there's 3 major companies, one that's gone public already, that are going after this. And we're going to see that from a lending perspective as well. And if you don't figure out what it is that you do that AI can't do, because AI can't do the shit I do. I know that with a 100% certainty. I sit down, I have strategy sessions. I sit down and I create vision. I create possibilities and I open doors where they were closed. I create affordability where there was none. I absolutely set structure and a pathway towards generational wealth. AI can't do that, but AI can do a loan. So if you just do loans, then you need to find another job. That's
I truly have goosebumps right now. Like that was like an all-time rant. I couldn't agree more. Folks, give us a little reaction. Let's get some stuff going. If you do have questions for Nicole, trust me, she would love to hear them, and we'll get time to bring them. So that was huge, Nicole. So I think you actually said a lot of things that you do that AI can't do that was really helpful and practical for folks. But I know, we have this whole message around how to bring value to realtors at scale right now. What are some of the most high level important things that mortgage advisors need to do?
So I think scale starts with one. And so many people want to jump to where you are today. It's like, Nicole, how do I become you? Or how do I get the reach you have? Or how do I have the impact you have? And my whole thing is you can't go from here to there. Like I do a Friday text that real estate agents self-subscribe to. I've got, I don't know, I think it just broke 1,000 agents that have signed up for that. I've got a Saturday blog that goes out to 7,500 agents every Saturday morning. I've got an email video that goes out to over 10,000 clients and those same 75 agents every Wednesday. And then we do posts. We do 1 long and 2 shorts. Well, we do 2 shorts a day on top of the long video, on top of the Instagram, on top of all the things, right? So the impact is the real me coming out, walking beside the real you, and the impact that we're trying to have on our clients together. And so to say, I want to go from here to there is not only unrealistic, it's just defeating. So how do you become that larger scale impact warrior? How do you create home ownership? And how do you support real estate agents so that they can continue to do their job the best that they can? Don't put yourself in a position of being a vendor. Put yourself in a position of being a partner with one thing at a time. If that's, I'm going to start creating content specifically around different loan programs that they need to know for their first-time home buyers. Like I just did a blog this past week on the fact that Harris is coming out talking about this $25,000 grant. Well, that's all well and good and probably going to happen in year 4 or 5 or 6, if we even get there. I can get you $25,000 today for a first-time home buyer. And here's 5 ways I can do it between these grants and down payment assistance and lender credit and all the things, right? So to speak from a position of being a mortgage coach, use the tools, the knowledge, the information, the numbers that you have to create not just more noise, but more access to helping your real estate agents support their clients and their buyers and their sellers. And you do it just one way at a time. You just put out a video a week, or you just do a blog a week, or you start doing a presentation a week. or you start sitting down with real estate agents and doing a strategy session or leaning in and going, your first question could actually be, what do you need? Lenders notoriously throw up on people. Here's all the programs I have. Here's all the things I have. Here's the tools I have. Here's everything that you need from me. How do you know what I need from you? You didn't even ask. So going in, I think, and going, what's the biggest hurdle for you right now? I had a conversation with a real estate agent just a little bit ago, right before I got on this call. And I was talking to her about this Broadmoor event that we have coming up, which we'll talk about later. But I was talking to her about this whole vision casting and grabbing 2025 by the balls. And we were actually talking about what she needed right now. And she started talking about listings specifically in helping them understand when they need to do price reductions. Okay, that's not what I would have come up with, right? That's not a thing I would have gone, okay, here's my loan programs, here's my products, here's my flyers. And so I just listened to where she was at, and we created some strategies off the cuff together, and we get off the phone and she's like, oh my God, that was so helpful. Thank you for helping me think about, I don't have a solution for that. I just have different ways to think about that. So we had to just stop and listen, because they're going through a freaking windstorm right now, and we just have to meet them where they're at.
So Todd, I'm going to throw it to you in a minute for impressions and comments, but I want to call something out. I want everybody to write down a word. Write down a word right now. Co-create strategies. Like everything she just said, we need to get really good. Like if you want to beat AI, and I do agree, like AI and automation can close loans quickly, efficiently, cost effectively, but by the way, it can help you have the best job. Like the best job as a mortgage advisor is right here, because consumers are filling out the app. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I used to do a handwritten app once upon a time. So consumers are filling out the app. Machine is doing all the things the machine can do. And then you get to just have great conversations with people, co-create strategies. Authorship is ownership that help them achieve generational wealth with real estate. So really want to emphasize that. We talk about it a lot. Todd, anything you want to call out or any questions you want to have? And then Deb will give you a shot to see where you want to go.
Well, of course, I just have to say, first off, it's just great to have Nicole back in the community. It's been too long, and I so appreciate you and your transparency. I mean, the fact that you started out and said that stole my energy and stole my confidence. And, I think that the rest of the world would have never noticed that, right? We've seen you on social, and I see what you do from a physical and a personal growth perspective, and I see the athlete that you are. But I always think it's great for people to hear that, one of the greats also struggled through. But I want you all to look at the energy that Nicole is showing up with, the energy that she's bringing to these relationships, the passion that she has for the business, because that's what AI is never going to replace. And so I just want to call that out, compliment you, and then, throw it back to Deb for a question. And then I think we'll kind of unpack some of the other questions I have as we go.
Well, I love the conviction you can feel. And that's the biggest struggle I see from people who create content, is it's just a lot of educational content with no emotional connection. And like Dave said, he was getting goosebumps because you could hear it. It wasn't like something she just took from someone else and is regurgitating, like she owns it. And so I loved your advice on owning who you are and being essentially the youest you can be. And then also stop and listen. I think we focus a lot of times too much on always having all the answers, and we kind of vomit at the mouth, and we don't just stop. And this even includes when creating content. Be a great social listener. Seek out questions, even from competitors or different Facebook groups. What do the people you care about? What do they value? Where's their misunderstanding? And get good at solving those problems.
So Nicole, let's just do a little Nicole Ruth workshop around co-creating strategies, because I know when you and I talked, when we were kind of coming up, what is the theme, how to be more valuable to realtors. And then I also know that you and your team are using MortgageCoach more than ever. And I have a feeling there's a really great way that not only are you co-creating in a way that's valuable for agents with consumers, but the way you're working with your team. Sounds like you have someone on your team that has really learned how to use Mortgage Coach at higher effectiveness. So you're co-creating with that team member, and you guys are co-creating for consumers, and you're doing all this in a way that's valuable for realtors. So like, just unpack your playbook a little bit. Like, what are you doing?
So we're absolutely using Mortgage Coach when it comes to, I mean, there's so many options right now, even from a loan perspective. So we're going through, we talk to you, because it drives me crazy when a loan officer presents a solution because it's the solution they know. We just kicked off a loan this morning that is absolutely approvable Fannie Mae. It's like, I didn't even have to get creative. Like it is that, but the lender that was working on it had this box, and if it fit in that box, and then he took it as far as he could in that box, and then he couldn't take it any further, and he had to tap the floor, and they had to find another lender that could solve they were already under contract. And so that kind of drives me crazy when lenders go in thinking, I can solve it with A. I can solve that one with A, and I can solve that one with A, and I can solve that one with A. I can solve them all with A. And I'm like, okay, but if you don't really understand what's going on underneath the surface of what's important to them, or how quickly we're going to refinance, or maybe how quickly they're going to turn that into a rental, or how quickly they want to give it to their kids, or how quickly they want to do whatever is next in their life, if I don't start that conversation further than this transaction, then I lose the opportunity to build that deeper relationship and to actually help them build wealth. I'm only helping them get a roof over their head, which seems a little empty to me. So when you say, how am I doing that? So a lot of it has to do with the fact that we start out with a lot of questions on what are they trying to achieve? How long do they think that they'll be in this home? What's the most important thing to them? What experiences have they had with other lenders that maybe went really well or didn't go really well, and why? How comfortable are they with the financial solutions around buying a home? So really starting to get a feel for them. And then we talk through their solution from a varied perspective, varied perspective is the wrong way to say it, from multiple options. So we look at, okay, so you've got this situation's coming to me, could be super simple, like the 30-year fixed, whatever conventional loan at the lowest rate is your solution. But that's not ever my first solution. My solution is based on what you told me you wanted, I could go one of three ways. Now, I really like this first way because I think it's going to provide you the lowest payment for your solution. But these other two ways give me different advantages for different reasons. What are you thinking your best solution is based on the options I'm providing? So that's where Mortgage Coach has been super helpful for us, because we provide it to probably 70% of our buyers right now, saying, here's several options. Here's the net wealth it gets you to. And here's the differences. Here's the difference in the cash to close is on this one. The monthly payment is on this one, or the money down on that one. And so this is based on what you told me. I think option A is your best option, but I want you to see B and C and make sure that you're making the decision. I won't make that decision for you. I'm your advisor, but ultimately it's your home ownership journey. I'm just here walking beside you. So we do a lot of that. And then, of course, now with the real estate education that I do, we've used Mortgage Coach to prevent the one of many options. And I tell people, I'm like, I can come up with 8, I can come up with 10, I can come up with a lot of options on ways to negotiate the buyer's agent compensation, but it's not mine to negotiate. It's super important that we approach the conversation from a perspective of, I am the mortgage advisor and I'm going to provide financial information that's going to help you to make the best decision that you can. And in the case of the buyer's agent compensation, if you've already agreed to it, you and your buyer, and this is the agent you chose to work with, then, and you have everything is in sync, and you sign the document that says that you're going to provide X number of dollars or percents based on that agent's service, I'm going to help you get there, right? My job is not to sell the buyer's agent compensation. My job is to reiterate the strength of the decision that they made with that buyer's agent. But my job is not to sell their compensation. My job is to protect the decision that they made to pay it. So if they made a decision to pay the compensation, then my job now as their financial advisor is to create a space by which the seller pays, the price is increased, the loan amount is changed, a down payment assistance program is operated within, a gift is done, a lender credit, like all the ways, and it's just numbers. And it's not emotion. The emotion's in the home. The buyer's agent compensation, once agreed upon, is just numbers. So I'm teaching my team how to have those conversations without emotion and without upsetting any party or making any judgments. The decision's been made, the agreement's been signed. We need to execute with the best product and proposed solution based on the circumstances of the contract and the seller, right? So we're really using it in a lot of different ways, but one is to give the buyer the ability to make their own decision and the agent to feel confident that we have their back.
So I want to connect a couple dots, then Todd, see if you want to call anything out on this. But first of all, she's giving options to consumers, and then she's showing them how those different options affect their wealth growth. So by the way, guys, most loan officers aren't doing that. They're saying, hey, this is what you pre-approved for. Here's your range. I'll close smooth. I'll close on time. That is tangible value. Like when you're showing a consumer mortgage options and you're showing them how they impact net worth growth, that is tangible value that helps a realtor be more valuable to a buyer, and they need that. And then, and I put a link to a recent video that Kelly Zitlow put on YouTube where she shared on YouTube. It's like 7 minutes. I think it was for a combination of agents and buyers. And and I'm seeing this all the time where mortgage coaches are doing agent commission options or agent commission analysis. And I love the way you just called it out, like with no judgment. I'm just being there as an educator to create transparency so that consumers can make better decisions. Did you want to say something to that?
No, we just had a delivery. I was saying thank you.
Oh, okay. I just had a delivery. All right. So, so anyways, make sure you check out that link. Todd, anything you want to call out to everything she just said?
Well, I think a couple things, and you both said it. I think it's kind of been the biggest aha that I've had around the total cost analysis in a long time, right? you all know my story. I stumbled into MortgageCoach my first day of the business. In fact, Dave, I don't have it. I should go run and grab it. It's in my desk drawer. I found my original disc that I bought that day
Oh my gosh.
when I was cleaning out my office to prove I'm an OG MortgageCoach user. And I use it to help people understand the cost of financing over time, right? You heard Nicole say, hey, how long do you think you're going to live in that home? But that shift and that mind blown piece was, I don't know who it was, but on one of these Friday calls talked about looking at the net worth going forward, right? And the reason that it was a mind blown for me is, I own a lot of rental property. I've built my net worth and by owning rental property and doing that for myself, but it's not what I did for the consumer, and the tool does that for you. So I just want to really, make sure that we call that out. And then what you heard Nicole say is, how do I uncover that need, right? And so let me kind of put my Phil Jones exactly what to say on that for a minute, right? If the two big ones I would write down, because there's 23 of them in the book and there's 32 of them if you come to a certification, and it's help me understand would be a great one, right? Help me understand, what is most important to you about your loan. There's lots of different ways. Deborah and I could go back and forth for the next hour on just that one question. And then the other one I would look at is, you heard Nicole say, well, tell me about, when you got a loan before, good or bad or otherwise. And so, right, it's what is your experience with, help me, what is your experience with getting a home loan in the past? What is your experience with buying a home? What is your experience with a lender consultation, right? What is your experience with, what do you understand about how a buyer's agent is paid now? There's just so many ways you can unpack this. And so just be thinking through the resources that we have, right? Scriptapalooza is up on both the Win by Noon and the MortgageCoach YouTube channels to watch the replay. And so I just want to kind of call out the questioning piece of it, because I think that is really the part that Nicole also talked about, is how do we uncover what's important to the consumer? And it's this whole idea of curiosity.
Nicole, I'm curious on when you're having these buyer consultations or talking to the consumer, are you bringing up the buyer's agent agreement and what they have agreed on during that call, or when do y'all ask those questions?
So further in, we do, what I don't want to do is wait until they're under contract, right? So it's not gonna be on the first call. So we're getting a call in, or it's an introduction email or text or DM or all the ways that information's coming at us right now. And we try to pull that in, have a call with them, have them complete a loan application. We only do a soft credit pull. So I always advocate that it's easier for me to do it with your numbers. Of course, I'll have a conversation without that. And then once we have the loan application, once we're getting ready and we're sending out lender letters, so they're somewhat committing to us, right? Because we know we can't get a commitment. Gosh, we need a buyer's agent commission or agreement. So we're not, but at that point, when we're sending a lender letter, at least we have a level of an agreement that we're going to be working together, at least the assumption of working together. And so it's when we're sending out the lender letter, we ask if they're committed to their agent. So I want to make sure before I send this lender letter that I have your approval. You told me that Deborah Bird was your real estate agent. Is that in fact the case? And have you committed to her? Right. So then it's just a really easy, okay, great. Because I want to make sure that I'm putting the right person. She's a fabulous agent. Here's all the things and why I love working with her. I've known her for years and yada, yada. What an incredible relationship the two of you are going to build. I'm going to go ahead and send her this letter. How much do you want me to have her included in your financial conversations? Do you want her included at all? And then have you guys already had an agreement as well? Are you under contract where you signed an agreement with her? Great. What does that look like? Can you tell me your understanding of it? Great. Okay. So then you're responsible for X. Fantastic. Well, we're going to support you. If this lender letter, and you go propose and put in a contract offer on a deal that doesn't offer a seller's compensation, a seller's paying for the buyer's agent compensation, then we need to strategize on what your plan B, C, and D are. And they're like, okay, great. Well, I've talked to the agent about that. I'm not really too worried about it yet, but it's good to know that I have options, or you dive into details.
Thank you.
Nicole, what percentage of your business is first-time home buyers versus move-up buyers right now? Ballpark.
I would guess 45% if I were
45.
to guess.
What, and I don't know if you're doing anything on this, but I know I'm going to be having a call with you and Kristen soon around FirstHomeIQ, but I have this thesis that most families aren't being proactive enough to help their kids get into homeownership. And I know as a parent, like, we want our kids to get into homeownership in their 20s, and given what we all know around what homeownership means to building wealth and financial freedom in America, the younger, the faster, the better. What are your thoughts, and what are you doing to help the people in your database and the parents and the grandparents and just get ahead of this, both in education and creative ways of helping kids get into homeownership younger? Any thoughts you have on that? Anything you're doing?
So a lot of our first-time homebuyers are not in their 20s. A lot of our first-time homebuyers are in their 30s. So younger 30s, but Denver market is expensive. And it definitely takes a good income and some money saved if you're not being given that or having a cosigner. And we have a lot of gifts here as well. So that certainly helps. The conversations, because my age, right? Because I'm in my mid-50s, and because I've helped my kids purchase their first home. In fact, my oldest, my 26-year-old, just bought his second home, and I have the number of investments that I have. I do have a lot of strategy sessions. So it's probably what I've built my business on is sitting down at the meeting, at my table in my office, with the agent and the buyers to say, where are we going from here? What does the next decade, 2 decades look like? And what do you want homeownership to do for you? And it might literally, the answer might be, I need a roof over my head. That's it. Like that. Stop. You're confusing me. It's too much. And I can read the body language. Like, I know when they don't want to talk about anything beyond that. But a lot of times when I'm having those conversations, the agents are also knowing where I stand, and they're saying, oh my gosh, I need you to talk to my friend or my client, because a lot of my agents, as you can imagine, are similar age to me, and they have other friends that have kids who are going to college now or just graduated college or in that time frame. Maybe they had their kids young and they had grandkids at this point. So the conversation I'm not afraid to have is the fact that we can't afford to let our kids and our grandkids fend for themselves when it comes to home ownership, because homes are permanently more expensive. I will stake that as truth. Homes are permanently more expensive. And if homes are permanently more expensive, the only way that you can attack affordability is through increase in wages, better jobs, a lower price point metro, right? Or that gift and having more money down. It's not going to be because home prices are going to come down. So if I'm fast forwarding, if you look at the HPI over the last 20 years, if I fast forward to my 26-year-old having a kid who's now entering into college, and he wants to do the same thing that I did, is help all three of my kids buy their first home at age 21. And what does that look like in 21 years? Because none of them have a kid yet. Then that's a lot. It's going to be a lot, and home prices are going to be expensive. So if we sit down and we actually talk about that, what would that look like to start purchasing an investment today to help buy a home that you think kids are going to live in? Or maybe your kids will never live in that home, but that home will be the very thing that you can either sell and buy a home for your kids, or you can use the income to buy a home for your kids. Or what about you? What if you just take advantage and protect your retirement? I mean, I have 24 investments in 2 commercial buildings, and I slept well over the last 2.5 years. Now, my ego and my positivity and all my self-confidence was on the floor, but my financial well-being, I felt like worst case scenario, I could sell an investment, right? And so how many people do we talk to that they're just trying to buy their first home? They're just trying to hang on to their home, and they're looking at their kids going, I don't know. Hopefully he becomes the next YouTuber, because they freaking make a ton of money. So that's all you need.
They sure do.
I just need to start learning and teaching on YouTube skills.
All right.
But that's,
All right.
I had that conversation.
So we're going to make multiple micro content from this, that rant at the beginning, that lesson she just gave, because everything she said is the truth in America. And if you're a family that has means, you do need to get a plan and try to help your kids get into homeownership as young as possible. And if you don't have the means, you need to help get them educated. And there's never been more down payment assistance programs in the history of America. Go check out downpaymentresources.com and help your kids. And so, Movement Homes is a partner of First Home IQ. And Casey Crawford, if you're watching this, thank you for that big donation that you made. And if you're watching this and you're a loan officer, check out First Home IQ. We've got a lot of content, ideas in what to send to your database. I'm sure that we'll make a micro clip out of this and we'll put it in the First Home IQ community. It's a very robust community. So if you are someone that wants to get really good at having the conversation with parents, really good at having the conversation with the next gen, even if you want to go and teach in high schools or colleges or boys and girls clubs, Big Brothers and Big Sisters in LA is currently leaning in to First Home IQ. Make sure you guys check it out, and you can sign up to be an ambassador. And my little ask for everyone right now, I'm going to put a link to it's firsthomeiq.com/Dave Savage. Take the quiz. It's a free quiz. It'll take you 5 minutes. If you are in mortgage or real estate, you should get a pretty good score. Like we see some 100%ers. And if you don't get over 90, then you got some work to do. But here's the deal. Gen Z is getting less than 50%. And really people that don't own are averaging about 57%. So also consider using that quiz as part of your process with first-time home buyers. Like you're running a credit report, give them the First Home IQ quiz and have them get ready. All right, so we are almost done with the third quarter. It's football season, so I'm going to just start calling everything quarters. Todd or Deb, is there any
Win by Noon's been in quarters for 8 years, Dave. So I live in quarters.
You're right.
I
You're
was going to
right.
say, you've been saying quarters regardless if it was football season. I guess it was
I know,
basketball.
but it is football season, and I am pretty pumped.
Yeah.
Feeling good about the Denver Broncos even. We'll see how that all goes.
Yeah.
Right,
Good
Nicole?
luck.
I'm not voting on that one.
I know. It hasn't gone well the past few years. So Todd, is there any questions you want to ask Nicole before we run out of time? Or have you seen anything come through chat? Remember, guys, this is a mastermind. If you have questions, put them in chat.
Well, I mean, I love the fact that you say that you're getting more creative with clients, right? And having creative conversations. So, I would just love if you could unpack just a little bit. You've kind of given some of the questions that you're asking up front, but maybe it's your favorite conversation that you're having right now with clients, but kind of what does that look like? What are some of the deeper questions that you're asking? Because I think that might help some of those in our community.
Specifically with the clients, not the agents.
Or you can pick agents if you want. I mean, I think really that's where we've got a thirst right now is people that are getting stuck. They don't have the confidence you have. And I think if they just had a few of what you feel are the most important conversations you're having at a little deeper level, that would be a benefit.
Yeah. So right now I'm finding that there's a lot of fear in the market. Like, that's not a surprising statement. There's a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of hesitation. Home prices are going to drop. The election is going to completely change the home industry. I don't know how. The Fed is going to lower rates and then it's all going to get better. Whatever the fear is, it's holding people back. We've started asking questions around that to say, I understand that now's not the right time. Tell me what it is that you're waiting for, because I want to watch for it too. Because if something happens that I can be there to support you, then we can do this together. Because remember, if we're approaching this as if it's a journey that I'm literally locked in arm with you, then it changes the dynamics of the conversation than if I'm spewing on you. Or if I'm literally sending you a lender letter after you do a loan application. I swear to God, if you ever do that, you can just stop doing the business. We need to lean in to our clients right now. We can't just send lender letters and expect them to continue to use you or expect them to feel good about it. There was a period of time in 2020, 2021, 2020 is a little bit of a bird, but 2021, where you could literally spit out lender letters as fast as you could. And people were grabbing them and they were going to put in an offer and they were going on contract and they didn't have time to think about the people that they partnered with. Well, right now, there's so much fear that if they're not feeling surrounded like a warm blanket, then they don't want to go that direction. And so what we're trying to do is say, it's not a good time to buy for like 83% of the people, because that's the surveys. The survey said only 17% of the people think it's a good time to buy. So if you're in the 83%, and if you ask most realtors, it's actually 100% of people that don't think it's a good time to buy, you won't be alone. So if you're not alone, then what can I do for you today? Right? Because if it's not a good time to buy, then me getting you a lender letter isn't going to help you. So what is it that you need to put yourself on a journey towards home ownership? So we start to create the vision of the home ownership, and then we start to pull that forward. I had a conversation with these two gals. My gosh, they were just crushers. They were young and great employment in a lease until December, I think. We're just starting to look. We're just dipping our toes in. Maybe their lease didn't even end until February. It was a while. And they're just like, we just want to educate ourselves because we don't know what we don't know. And we don't even know where to start. So I had this kind of a conversation with them and saying, this is so fantastic that you have until, we'll just call it February, that you have until February, because we have so much time that you can absorb the areas that you like, what interest rates are doing, the kind of home, the house payment that's comfortable for you, how it fits in your budget. We have so much time to absorb all this information that that's fantastic. They actually 4 days later went under contract. That is literally, I am filling my pipeline right now with conversations that now is not the right time to buy.
I want to pile onto that. What are you doing with the thought that we've made a shift in the market, rates are going to start coming down, and to get ahead of being as efficient and effective as possible at helping your database where it makes sense to do a rate and term refi, prepare for refis? What are you and your team doing to prepare for that?
To prepare for the actual refinances. So not to actually prepare the buyer.
Are you doing anything? I mean, I have some very specific things that I'm advising, and I'm doing a lot of refi playbook webinars for our customers.
Yeah.
You know, do X, Y, and Z. But are you doing anything with your team to prepare for future rate and term refis?
So we have, we use Django. My husband created the framework for Django for us 6-7 years ago. And so we blast out via text and email what rates you're doing with a reminder that we've got your back, right? So we're constantly telling our clients we're here for you. A lack of conversation or communication is not a problem. If in fact people would say I over communicate, and I'm like, well, then just unsubscribe. It's fine. So we just continue to put that out there. So we're letting people know. So we do get the question a lot to say, should we do this now or should we wait? Because interest rates are going to get lower. And that does mean that we're going to be able to afford more. And that's when we start talking about, well, what's your ideal monthly payment? What's your ideal home? Is waiting for that lower monthly payment so that you can increase affordability? And in the meantime, can you save more? Is that realistic for you? Yes, there's a chance, a very good chance that increased demand could increase the home price. And so that home that you think that you can buy for 650, that you're stretching yourself towards, because right now you're capped out at about 600, it's still going to be 650 because it might be 675 or 700. But I just put it there. I don't lean into it. I just put it there and say, it might not be 650 when you're ready. And then when interest rates go down, if we're okay with that, then let's talk about what that looks like. And then let's plan for that and how to create success. Because if I'm going to wait, then I'm going to help you with your credit score. I'm going to help you with the down payment. I'm going to help you with the strategy. We're going to get zeroed in on the monthly payment, and we're going to identify the homes that fit that bill, you know, because we have metro taxes here and all kinds of stuff. So, and then of course, we're telling all of our clients that we have a lender-free refinance, right? I don't know that there's many lenders out there that aren't doing that, that are going to pay for all of the costs when they go to refinance, because you're doing the transaction now, you know it's going to happen, and they're going to have that opportunity. So you have to offer it, and we'll be so busy that it won't matter.
Got it. So guys, on my screen, I'm going to show it right now. There is a page. Highly recommend you bookmark it. It's called trustengine.com/10x. And I update this every month. And I always update it around what are the biggest opportunities in the market right now. And right now, still, NAR settlement strategies and ways to help realtors are key. And so out of all the interviews I do, these are the 3 that will best help you get ahead of this and bring value. Watch these 3. I do believe, whether it's weeks, months, there's a shift. So get ahead of it. You know, I interviewed Josh on Tuesday around what is he doing to get ahead of it and prepare. I interviewed another top performer. So, and I will, as this opportunity uncovers, I'll prepare. By the way, if you haven't trained on how to create a mortgage coach total cost analysis for a refi, so it's easy and fast, like get ahead of that. I do believe with the NAR settlement changes, there's going to be more open houses, and there's going to be more opportunity for agents and loan officers at open houses. Get ahead of that. And then, of course, rate shopping is always an issue. Again, as you scroll down on this page, coach the coaches. If you're a manager and you haven't watched these interviews, Denise, the twin, Deborah's sister, did a great conversation of how she's upgrading loan officers and how she's helping them. And then the further, obviously, Scriptapalooza. And then the further you scroll down, like show up to our workshops. Every day of the week, we're doing training. If you need video training, you know, there's video training. And of course, if you're watching this and you're not a mortgage coach, there's a button to sign up. And if you're a manager and you want to get a demo, there's a button to do that. All right.
Man,
So
Dave, you just
that's
upgraded
one of
your
that.
Zoom experience with that like picture-in-picture. I saw a realtor do that a couple weeks ago and I was blown away. So congratulations on elevating our conversations on Fridays and Tuesdays.
That was the first time I've done that before. When I demo our app, our new mobile app, I do that sometimes. But make sure you guys know how to use Zoom too. Like make sure you deliver a great in-person experience. Make sure you deliver a great Zoom experience. And then make sure you deliver a great digital experience. Like that's another beautiful thing about MortgageCoach. You can be on the phone with the client, they've got a link, and you're having an interactive, dynamic conversation. You push a video into it. Like we live in a world where, you know, there's the real world, which is still the best place to be, but there is using technology and, you know, super important. So Deborah, any questions you ask, anything you want to call out from Nicole before we run out of time?
Yes, I'm curious how you are acquiring new agent partners, or are you? Do you have like a set amount of meetings you try to have with these partners, and how are you getting those meetings?
So I do a ton of presentations. I geek out on the economics. I put together a slide deck every week about what's happening in the market and how you communicate that with your buyers and sellers in order to help them make sense of what's happening and getting them off the fence. And I have a number of offices that I go to every single week, presenting that information. And so agents will reach out to me and say, hey, can we schedule a coffee, or can we sit down? And it's usually I have meetings in my office, and we'll go through kind of what their needs are and how we can support them and their clients, especially the strategy, the investor, the complicated, you know, we have all kinds of programs. Everybody's got a ton of programs. It's not the programs itself, it's how you can actually optimize and skillfully use them. And communicate the fact that you have them. So I sell the most complicated ones and tell them that everything else is easy.
Do you do any of those via like Zoom where it's everybody on at once, or are you typically doing it with groups and those that you go, you know, to their offices?
So I do a lot of it live. I do a lot of it in offices, because I do want to have that. I used to every Thursday, I had a title rep in town. And the two of us did a Zoom probably for 3 years, side by side every Thursday morning. Because of the way the title industry has changed and some of the compliance, they pulled back on that. So her working with a lender became an issue. She does hers on Thursdays, and I actually do an invitation only to the top 75 agents that refer me. And we do a market update on Thursday mornings. So that's my only Zoom meeting, and that's to my top 75. And then and if you didn't refer me in the last 90 days and you're not in that club, then we renew that registration every month. And it's just a way for me to not reward, but to arm. So if those are agents that trust me enough to trust me with their clients, then I'm going to repay that trust by arming them with the most current conversation. So they'll get that every Thursday morning. And then I have, Keller Williams and Berkshire Hathaway and Liv that I go into.
How long is that Thursday call? Is it a short call, a long call?
It's an hour. I usually do about a 30-minute presentation and then a 30-minute mastermind. And then I have another mastermind.
About the market, is it interest rates and what's going on in the real estate market, or you just focus on interest rates?
So I'm kind of an economic geek. So I'm actually focusing on everything that impacts an interest rate or a decision to buy a home. So what's happening with the job numbers, unemployment, with Fed Chair Powell, what's happening in the headlines and what the buyers and sellers are seeing, what surveys are being done, what's the manufacturing numbers, services numbers, how is that impacting the GDP, and how is the GDP going to impact overarchingly our economy with the retail sales and spending. So we're talking about all of it. And then I'm showing them the 10-year treasury yield and how it's moving in reaction to any of those updates or news, so that they can start to see the trend line to say, when we were going up and up and up, but we'd start to go down, I'd be like, we're not, guys, no, our trend line is up. And here's the pit stops that it's making along the way. But then I could tell where the cap was. And so I'm talking to them I usually talk in the 10-year treasury, not in the 30-year fixed.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks for the clarification.
Love that. And by the way, guys, everybody here, she's talking about what impacts housing and home ownership. I can't emphasize enough. I recommend you watch this 7-minute video from Kelly, and recommend that you do this. Be someone that is helping people make better decisions around home ownership, create content on social media. Maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's LinkedIn. Obviously, Nicole is jumping on Zoom and delivering an hour of value. And remember, did you hear that? It's half presenting, half masterminding. That's where she's learning. That's where she's creating even more value for people. We're in the last 4 minutes, Nicole.
Yeah.
So audience, if you're getting value, if you got value, give this a like. If you're in Zoom, give us a reaction. Let us know what you thought of today's session. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like. I don't think you can give loves on YouTube, although I would. So Nicole, as we close this out, I'm going to have a closing question, but before I ask the closing question, you've got, I think there'll be over 1,000 loan officers that watch this video. We've got, probably 100-ish that have been watching it live between YouTube and Facebook. How can people best follow you? What is the best way for, this audience to stay in touch with you?
I love that. So we're prolific on social. That's an understatement. So you can definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, friend me on Facebook. We're actually changing our model in the sense that a lot of the content that I delivered in the past was closed off and it was hyper-focused on agents. We're actually expanding because now I believe, especially after having gone through the last 2.5 years, and because I'm in my mid-50s, the view of life changes, I think. And so as I'm looking forward, it is abundance. It's welcoming in and holding on. So I'm teaching loan officers also how to communicate in this way and to grow their confidence. So we have our Broadmoor event. It's actually it's called, just the website is nextbigthingevent.com. And so if you go to nextbigthingevent.com, it's only limited to 40 people. I also have a 90-day sprint that I'm doing with a handful of loan officers right now that aren't even part of movement, because I believe that we all need to be better. We just need to do better. We need to be better because our clients need us to be better. So we're doing a 90-day sprint together. We're doing the Broadmoor. And then we have our big Next Big Thing event in February. I cannot say who the keynote is, but I cannot wait. I'm super excited. We've got our speakers lining up. I know Dave and you and I were talking about that, but that's February 20th. So if you'll see stuff on our social. If you want to come to that as a lender, we're going to be piling on content, wisdom, strategy, vision, all the things to create what you need to do specifically to have the kind of success in 2025 that we all want. It's been a hard couple of years.
Yeah. So closing thought, give us a minute. You've got, let's say, thousands. And then the people that you have are the impact players in our industry. I mean, there's going to be heads of production on this. There's going to be regional leaders. They use this content for their sales leadership messages. 1 minute, closing thoughts for everybody.
Mine?
Yeah, you.
Okay, closing thoughts. Here you go. You want a different day? Start out with gratitude. I would set a challenge to you. We've all heard it and we've all said, yeah, I do that. You don't do it. You don't do it consistently and you don't do it enough. Before my feet hit the floor, I tell myself, I am a fucking champion changing the industry that I love. State your claim and then talk about the 10 things that you're grateful for, and don't stop at 9, and certainly don't stop at 8. Don't be a quitter. 10 every single day. Be more today, because your clients and your real estate agents need you to be more. They need you, especially in this transitioning environment. So start the day right and do the thing. And then all day long, just focus on doing one more of all the things. One more call, one more email, one more touch, one more hug. I love hugs. Do one more, but start the day right. It's super important right now in this environment.
Love that. Mr. Bookspan, do the win by noon close, and let's make this actionable. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Nicole, you are amazing. And how do we win by noon, Todd?
All right. Well, Coach Deb, do you have anything you want to say before I close this out?
Just that notice how she's such a professional, and you can tell she's worked on her words and her words choice. I think you've gone through the exactly what to say certification as well. I've heard some of the key phrases, but you're just a top-notch professional. You study the game. You then share your wisdom online and make it really easy for people to be attracted to you and feel safe and secure about their decisions. So it takes practice, guys. You usually don't show up that confident if you haven't practiced and trained. But when you practice and train.
And I'll make this less than 60 seconds because that'll pile on there. One is awesome job, Nicole. It's so great seeing you. And in the end, you talked about people doing gratitude and you said not consistently and not enough. And so I'm going to encourage you, go back to my challenge. unplug for a couple hours this weekend. If you're watching this months down the road, you can still, even though it's not a holiday weekend, maybe you can still unplug and do that, and then focus on the things. What else could you be more grateful for? What else can you be more consistent with? What else can you do more of? And just go out there and kick some ass. So appreciate you all. It's great seeing you on behalf of Deb, Dave, and myself. Thanks, Nicole. We look forward to seeing you all soon.